God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, come on. I really am going to tangle this all up, aren't I? Okay. Alright, it's all tangled. Okie dokie. Okie dokie, that's nice. Alright, that wasn't scripted at all. All right, guys. Hey, how are you doing? So this is episode 1 of my new podcast called The John Show, and it's my solo gig. It's a podcast I do by myself in a studio by myself that may or may not be haunted. This is a true story. So when I signed the lease to live in to work in the studio, the guy was like, "Oh, great, awesome. So now the lease is yours, and the place is, here's the key." And after that, he was like, "Well, you want to go have dinner?" So we went and had dinner, and he's like, and just in passing, he's like, "Oh yeah, past people who have used this place for things, they occasionally will see a ghost here and there." And I'm like, that's funny. And he's like, "No, I'm being serious. There is like an old lady, and there is this older gentleman, and they will, you'll see them every once in a while. But don't worry, they're good people." I'm like, what? Why did you not tell me before this? And like, I was very high at the time. And so like, I'm like, whoa. I was even more kind of like, what are you talking about? Am I gonna be a poltergeist? Is there gonna be Satan? Am I in the 7 levels of places? What's going on? And so, but yes, guys, this is my new podcast. I'm doing this by myself in the studio by myself, here in Kansas City, Missouri, home of was it 2020 or was it 2019 Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs? Yeah, they won it. It has been a long time. When I remember being young and watching Kansas City play and just fucking it up. Every chance they get, they would fuck it up. And, but yeah, now they won. I'm doing a podcast. So you're probably wondering, well, haven't you done podcasts before with people? And don't you usually have guests and things like that? And the truth is, that is true. I normally would do that. But the thing is, I am a traveling cinematographer. That's one of my things. I'm a filmmaker. I do podcasting. I make movies. I make commercials. I work for a company that makes commercials. So it's really hard to be able to like match up with somebody. And I used to do with a good buddy of mine, Aaron Naylor. He's a good friend of mine. He is a comedian. He's also from Kansas City, Missouri. But yeah, and we did a podcast. We did like over 100 episodes, like 100. Well, in total, I think there's like 125. And then like him and I alone did like over 110 of those episodes. And it was just like we were living together. So that's what made it super easy to do. And then when we moved apart, he was still living in Kansas City. I was living like 45 minutes outside of Kansas City because I was having a studio there because it was just a bigger location. And then from there, I ended up getting this place. But now he is in another place in Kansas City. He's always traveling because his stand-up's gotten really big. And I'm traveling all the time because my filmmaking is getting bigger. I work for a company that allows me to go and travel across the United States. And so that's where we are at. So I'm doing a podcast by myself. And it's just, like I said, it's like super hard to have myself be able to line up with someone else, and it's kind of like rude because I know what I want to do. I want to do filmmaking. I want to do do podcasting, but not everyone is like super gung-ho or want to do it as much as I want to do it. And plus too, I'm Jewish, so I have all this equipment that if I don't use it, I feel like I'm just wasting it. And I went to school for it, so I might as well just sit here and do podcasts by myself. And the great thing and the funny thing about this whole thing was that this is actually take 2 of episode 1. I fucked up on the first one because I had everything set up perfectly. I was just rolling, just here, there, everywhere, just killing, I felt like. And then I go to export the video, fine. The onboard microphone audio is completely fine. But the thing is, I went to export my audio and it was just, and I realized that I didn't connect my audio microphone to my inbox, which powers and records it to the computer. I didn't give it a proper direction of where I wanted to go, so it was just recording all this whenever I talked. And so I was like, that's great. That's awesome. And then I ended up like getting super busy going out of town, so I had to wait and do the podcast when I got back, which is now. So where should we start? Where should we begin? This beautiful journey called The John Show. And I got the idea for The John Show. The title was from The Gong Show. And it's just like a variety show. And it had a big old gong, John. At the time, I was also very baked at that time as well. And it was funny. And I felt like it rhymed better and it worked better. But now saying it while I'm recording on episode 1, it doesn't sound as good. But The John Show, which surprisingly was not taken. And neither was johnjohn.com was not taking either. And I feel like it's a lot easier to use that as a website name than use my full name, which is John D. Klauser. The D stands for David, which because if you know about the Jewish culture, Jews have David somewhere in their name, anywhere, everywhere. It's just part of the thing. It's just part of the gig. King David, the guy who united all of Israel together, he was a good man, a good king. Apparently, he also killed Goliath. So that's where he kind of started. That was his opening move. And then from there, like him becoming king was like his feature act or his feature film and his Oscar award winning film. I guess technically you could kind of look at it as to that his move when he killed Goliath was pretty much like his feature film. That was like his first, that was like his Sixth Sense. And then like he, instead of like M. Night Shyamalan, he didn't fuck it up. And then he became like a Steven Spielberg and he made like Jurassic Park, AKA Making Israel. So anyway, guys, yeah, this is my podcast, episode 1. I'm assuming it won't be the best of things, but that's the great thing about doing and having your own audio equipment. You can just fuck around and who gives a shit, right? So I'm going to probably put this on my normal page, which is John D. Klauser. If you haven't yet, subscribe, give it a thumbs up. You can also check out my vlogs that are on there. My vlogs, I travel all across the United States, checking out things. And I go to abandoned locations as well as like weird museums. It's kind of a cool thing. And every once in a while I'll splice in kind of like my life. And well, not kind of. I do splice in my life, what I do on my day-to-day basis, that kind of thing. But I feel like if I can just leave them two together, like I'm trying to build a better platform or a bigger platform. So if I do it like that, instead of having a separate page, I feel like I can just bring in both groups. And if you want to listen to the podcast, you can listen to the podcast. If you want to watch the vlogs, you can watch the vlogs. Either way, you can have fun. I'm giving you multiple things instead of just giving you just one small nugget of entertainment. Anyway, guys, I'm sure that was gorgeous to hear. So I guess I should just start off like podcasting. I started doing podcasting like 12 years ago. I was still in college. Oh, not was college wasn't 12 years ago. It was before college because I was working at that time. I was also working as a PA on movie sets as a makeup artist, like a makeup artist PA. So I was basically just wrangling people and telling them to sit down, be like, hey, the makeup artist is going to be with you a second. Just if you have any questions, you need water, just holler. If you need anything to eat, let me know. And have fun because you're going to be sitting there for about like 3-4 hours. And so that's basically what I did. And then also at that time, a buddy of mine was like, hey, I think it'd be a good idea if you came out and you talked to this guy who is just this production company. I don't know, they're a bunch of Jews, and you would probably like him because you're a Jew. And I swear to God, that's what he said. That's what Anthony told me. And so I met with this guy named James, and he was like, hey, I do these podcasts for my house. And like the production house was just in a big house in Burbank, California. And when because the production taxes were lower if you did it in a house versus if you did it like if you had a building, and then I guess the rent and everything like that, it was just a way of just making it cheaper. So they basically just gutted a whole house. The top floor was all where they keep the lenses, the cameras, all the green screen stuff. The main floor was the offices, and the kitchen was a kitchen. And it was just pretty much a hangout place. They just made like a big room where you could watch like the podcasts that were being filmed at the moment. You can watch them like live on live streams, because we did live stream on YouTube. We did live stream on, God, back then it was like Justin TV too. And what else? We did it on just a normal like website stream. Like they had enough power to do just on a normal website stream. And people were able to like contact us and I communicate at the same time, and it's slowly built with that. But the funny thing is, I had no idea what podcasting was. I had no idea what the concept of it was. All I knew that I thought radio was cool. I always wanted to get into radio. But I always never thought it was going to be like a big thing. It was always going to be like a stepping stone to the end game being working on feature films, aka or directing feature films. That's the main goal of my life, is trying to get on feature films. That's what I want to do. I think it's the best. It's like the hardest in the sense of like working wise, because you'll be working like 30 days straight, 40 days straight, and then you're not going to be working for a couple of months. Like you could easily not be working for a couple of months. And it's being able to work and then being also to find a new gig on top of that. So as soon as one ends, you're able to like slide right into a new one. And that's hard. It's just harder because then you have to be in the union and all this stuff. But I started doing podcasting. He was just basically, hey, John, what I need a guy who needs to sit in a booth that's like in another room, but has a glass, basically had a glass like cut out where you can see the people on the other side. I need you just to basically do a soundboard. So do like sound drops, like something like this.
Do rap.
Right? Or, like drop music in, like crazy things like this. So like that was basically my job, and like I'm supposed to be able to jug back and forth, listen to what they're talking about. If you ever watch like the Joe Rogan show, Jamie, his like producer slash like facts checker upper, that was my job. And I was like, all right, I'm like, I think I can do this. And I got paid $8.50 an hour, and I would work like 12-hour shifts because it was so easy, because I was just sitting down I was sitting down, I had a computer, I had a whole mix board in front of me, and I just listened to these people talk about stupid shit. We would have like celebrities come in, like Kim Kardashian came in, Lady Gaga was pretty big at one time that we had in, and so we would just interview these people, and then we had like reality star people come in and talk about reality star television stuff. We had wrestlers come in that would talk about wrestling, and this was like right before like the WWE like kind of peaked up again, where it's like super popular now. And we would just do those kind of things. And then I would do an hour podcast, record it, upload it, put it on YouTube, put it on iTunes, put it on all that stuff. And then after that, I would have like a 20-minute break. I would either have a snack, eat, or get ready for the next show. But everything was pretty much set up. All I had to do was just readjust the camera and make sure that their framing is good. And that was honestly all I had to do. And I would just do that for 12, and I just do 12 shifts. And that's how we just did it all day. I would get there in the morning, work all day, get off at night. It's like 8 in the morning, 8 at night. It was just super, super easy. Don't have Fridays off. We had Fridays off, and we had Sunday nights off, and then we had Mondays off. That's how it was. And that's what we did, because tend to be on in the film or music or that. Tuesday tends to be the day where you drop something new. That tends to be the most popular day. Mondays is the day, because it's Monday. A lot of people aren't going to be paying attention to stuff. They don't want to. They're not going to buy. Just, I guess, analytics have just shown over the years that people just not buy on Monday, and dropping stuff, you're just not going to get the higher percentage. And then on Tuesday, because you're basically you're starting the peak of the middle of the week, and most people are just have a 9 to 5, and having that 9 to 5, there's usually time where they can check their phones. Well, back then, phones, emails, that kind of thing was way bigger, and that's how it was. This is when we drop things on Tuesday. So our big shows were always Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And it just ranged from anything. And I did that for a long time. And then I moved up in on the film scale of, I was working at, like I said, I was working at PA in a makeup department. From there, I started working in the lighting department a lot. Because a buddy of mine was like, hey, you just want to come over and work? On the days I wasn't doing the makeup stuff, I would work on other sets and be in the lighting department. So I was a grip, pretty much. Just Wrangler. You just grab gear. Hey, we need you to get up these lights, those cords, those outlets, get the fuck out and get it on the set now. And then you just do it. And I went from there. And then one day, one glorious day, I set up all the lights, and I was just standing next to the lights, just making sure it was all good to go. And the director comes up to me. He's like, hey, have you ever done the camera before? I'm like, yep. I lied. I always lie. I always say that I know how to do this stuff because I know how to do it a little bit. Well, at that time, I had an inkling of what I was doing. I'm like, as long as I don't really fuck up and I just keep a good frame and just think of it, just be calm about it and just think of a framing. Framing, John, just do it. And then that day, he's like, hey, my camera guy's not here, so would you mind just doing my camera stuff for me? I'm like, fuck it, yeah. He's like, you're going to work with my second AD, and you're going to work with my assistant director and my second AD, and we're going to just kind of work together, and we're going to figure this out. But yeah, just don't worry. We'll just kind of work together. And I just started doing that, and then from there, I just worked on his project after his project after his project, because he was busting out. He was just an independent filmmaker. Now he's an actor now, and he's been on some shows here and there, but at that time he was just because he was acting, but he was also directing, and good for him, and it worked for him. And so I just started doing that, and that's how I got a lot of my practice. And then one time, at one point, I was like, I think I could just go independent, and I just bought a bunch of cameras, started making YouTube channels, started making short films, and that's kind of it. And then now I'm working for a company where I'm going to be I am a cinematographer for them. And it's crazy, because it's it was a luck kind of thing how I fell into it. But just someone wasn't there. I was there. The director saw me. And the craziest thing, because I knew him because he worked I'm half Honduran, half Egyptian. I was working with this Egyptian cast, or this Egyptian crew, because I went to school with the girl whose boyfriend was the director for a Doritos commercial, and I met him because he was a director, and they were director's friends, and he was acting for his friend on the Doritos commercial. And then that's how I met the director who helped me out and gave me my first big break and allowed me to do and become a cinematographer. And that's pretty much where it was. And that had to be 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. It was a long time. And that's all I've been doing. I'm a filmmaker. Like I said, I made some short films. I've been on some short films. I've worked on some Emmy award-winning college shows that won awards. I was a camera guy for that. That was crazy. I was because the crazy thing about that too is because I was roommates with the guy who's the director for it. We went to school together, and I made a project that was about this brewing company in Weston, Missouri, and then the teacher saw it and was like, hey, I really liked your work. You're pretty good. A lot of it was just like, I didn't have a lot of footage. So I had a lot of B-roll footage, but I didn't have a lot of like interview footage because I was not good at it at that time. And I didn't, because I did not want to do documentaries at that point. Like the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten into them, and they're kind of interesting to do, and the format's completely different and it's a lot more relaxed. You can get away with a lot more stuff. You can be a little easier as a filmmaker. But I started working with them because he asked me to be a camera guy on it, and I was like, fuck yeah. And I was roommates with the main director, the high up guy who was doing it, and he's like, I want to be a camera guy. Can I please? Like, this is the only way I'm going to get better. I just give me a chance. Like, if I suck after the first day, if you don't like what I do, then I will never ask you again. I'll just simply be a lighting guy. I'll do lights because I'm really good at lighting too. It's just because that's where I started. Like, slowly worked my way into lighting, and then the lighting gave me the chance to do a camera position, and I was like, yeah, just one chance. And so I did that, and I did several shows. I did like Pensado's Place. He is a sound producer. He had an interview show. He still does it. I was on season 2 and 3, and then half of season 4 until I got my own stuff. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, guys. I'm going to do independent stuff. Because I was only getting, for like Pensado's Place, something like that, it's only like a 2-hour gig, and I was getting paid like $100. And like, that's awesome. That's cool. Because like, you can put $20 of gas in your car. Then you put $20 away for savings. And then, you put like 40 away. You put a 40 to like to fuck around money that you can like, buy your beer and your pot or whatever you want to do with it. And that was cool. But then I was like, I can go and work for like 4 hours and get like $400 instead of doing this. Or I can go and work on a film set and get paid $500 for a whole day. Times that by like, because if I would do like a specialty thing, like do drones and stuff like that, like you're going to use the drone stuff, you're going to try to like they're going to block that out for 3 to 4 or 5 days, and so you're getting bank, like you're just hitting like a couple Ks like pretty quick. And so I was like, I'd rather do that shit than like fucking sit in a fucking cold ass studio and do 1 hour. And like, because I was camera 2, so I was the middle camera, and I was doing a master shot of just like, I was literally just swaying back and forth for an hour in a show, like, and like they were like, so they would stop me, like, all right, go back, and then like the camera guy was like, all right, camera 2 ready, on camera 2, and just like be steady, all right, on camera 3, like camera, like, then he would say like camera 3 ready, on camera 3, and then you'd be off, like, and so then you could readjust and do whatever you wanted. But I was like, fuck this. I'm like, I don't want to do this shit anymore if I don't have to do it. And I worked on a lot of reality shows. That was the bane of my life. Those shows were, because it's like you lose all creativity. You have no ability to do any creative work. It's just all about getting this content of like reality show stuff, which is fine. Paid good. Paid really well. Paid really, really, really well. But I did that, and then while that time, a couple years prior to that, I had quit the podcasting job, and I had worked for a broadcasting company because I took a broadcasting job for Bexel. Like they do a lot of like the Oscars. They provide all the cameras, audio equipment, all that stuff, all the camera stuff that you see on a lot of like top end TV shows, top end like main event show, like like the Super Bowl, those kind of things. Like one big event that happens each year. They tend to be like one of the big providers, the big hands in when it comes to like producing it and providing equipment to be able to produce it on the media side, not on anything else, just like strictly on the cameras, microphones, all that shit. Worked for them, and while I was also doing on the weekends, I would do jobs by myself. Like I would just do jobs on my own, and I was getting paid really well, with healthcare, health benefits, and all that stuff. And I had all that stuff taken care of, and then I was working with like by myself, independent stuff, and it was just super easy. And at that point, I think that was 2011. I graduated in 2012. So yeah, this is all in the span of like 2000 and like 2007 to 2012. 2014-ish air time. That's what it was. It was a good amount of time. That's like in California, doing a lot of film stuff, getting my bass down and then pretty much doing my own independent stuff, and yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. So I gonna think these podcasts are only gonna be like 30 minutes long, 25 minutes long. It's beeping right now, so I'm gonna do my plugs real quick. If I drop out, I have 2 minutes, apparently 2 minutes and 45 seconds left until I'm supposed to clock out completely. But please follow my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, John D. Clouser, Clouscer. It's the same name on my YouTube channel. So it's like super easy. Everything is the same. John D. Clouser for every single thing. I made it super easy for people so everyone can follow me and I can follow you back and we can like each other. We can be friends. But this is my podcast, The John Show. It's going to be a lot talking about, film stuff. It's episode 1. It's going to be shitty. The sun's going to be shitty. I'm sorry, guys. It might not be the best thing in the world. It might be good. Might not be. I have a lot of interesting stories. I have a lot of film stories. I have a lot of things about, like, if you're trying to be independent, if you want to be a filmmaker, or if you just be an artist, I feel like I can tell you a thing or two because I am doing it independently as well now. I'm full-blown independent. So, yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Like this podcast. Watch this podcast. It will be on YouTube. It will be on Instagram. It will be on iTunes. It will be on those platforms. These are sparkling waters. This is beer. I have this stuff, so just in case if I bomb. And this is Brad the Bread. It was a joke. So on every shoot I work on, I always take a piece of bread, wrap it up, make a smiley face on it, and then I place them all around the film set, and this is how I boost morale, because this becomes an inside joke